The Legend of the Stoneman, Kolkata's unsolved mystery. The city of Kolkata, with its bustling streets and colonial-era charm, has always been a place of history, culture, and stories. But hidden within its winding lanes and dimly lit alleys lies a horrifying mystery. A tale of a faceless killer who hunted in the dark, a murderer who struck without warning and left behind nothing but blood and fear. This is the legend of the Stoneman, India's most terrifying, unidentified serial killer, a ghostly figure who bludgeoned his victims to death with heavy stones and then disappeared, leaving behind no traces, no clues, only silence and terror. Even today, some say his spirit still roams the streets of Kolkata, that in the dead of night, when the roads are empty and the city sleeps, you can still hear footsteps echoing on lonely pavements. And if you listen closely, you might just hear the crunch of a stone being lifted off the ground. But was he ever caught? Did he even exist? Or was the Stoneman something much worse? A curse, a phantom, an unseen force that never truly left. The reign of terror begins. The year was 1989. Kolkata, then known as Calcutta, was a city of contrasts. Thriving markets and grand colonial structures stood beside slums and forgotten alleys. Among the people who lived on the streets, however, an unspeakable horror was unfolding. One night, a homeless man was found brutally murdered near the railway tracks. His skull had been crushed by a massive stone, blood pooling around his lifeless body. There were no signs of struggle, no witnesses, no sounds heard. It was as if death had descended silently in the night, struck mercilessly, and vanished. At first, the police dismissed it as a random act of violence, common in a city where crime lurked in the shadows. But within a few days, there was another murder, and then another, and another. The killings were always the same. The victims were homeless men, found with their heads smashed beyond recognition by large stones. There was no pattern, no motive, no warning. The killer never stole anything, never left behind any evidence. He came, he killed, and he disappeared. And the worst part? The murders weren't stopping. Fear spreads like wildfire. As the death toll climbed to over a dozen victims, fear gripped the city. Street dwellers, the poor, and the homeless, those who had nowhere else to sleep, began to huddle together at night, hoping that staying in groups would protect them. But the Stoneman was unstoppable. He struck in the dead of night, always targeting people who slept alone. Some victims were killed near Howrah Bridge, others near Sealdah Railway Station, and some in hidden alleyways where the shadows stretched long. The police, baffled and helpless, set up night patrols, hoping to catch the murderer in the act. But he was never seen, never heard. It was as if he was a ghost, slipping through the darkness, watching from unseen corners. Rumors began to spread. Was the Stoneman even human? Some believed he was a vengeful spirit, cursed to kill for eternity. Others thought he was a madman, driven by a darkness no one could understand. And some whispered that it wasn't just one killer, but a cult, a group of faceless figures working together, choosing their victims at random. The killings stopped, but the fear remains. Then, as suddenly as they had begun, the murders stopped. After a final set of killings in early 1990, the Stoneman vanished without a trace. No arrests were made. No bodies were found after that. It was as if he had simply walked away into the shadows, never to return. The police were left with no answers, only unsolved cases. Was he dead? Was he hiding? Had he moved to another city to continue his rampage elsewhere? Some investigators believe the Stoneman may have been responsible for similar killings in Mumbai, where homeless men were also found murdered in the same gruesome way, but no connection was ever proven. The Stoneman of Kolkata remains one of India's greatest unsolved mysteries, a killer with no face, no identity, no past. Even today, decades later, people still talk about the Stoneman. There are those who claim to have seen his shadow moving along deserted railway tracks. Some say that at night, near Sealdah and Howrah, they have heard the crunching sound of a heavy stone being dragged along the pavement. The homeless still refuse to sleep alone. Even those who don't believe in ghosts know that something evil once walked these streets. Something that never got caught, never paid for its crimes. But what if he never left? What if the Stoneman is still out there, watching, waiting, ready to strike again? Because sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are not spirits, not demons, but humans themselves.